Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. And being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. So let me tell you, I am so excited. I am starting season 6, and I'm so happy to bring this show to you. We have a lot of good things in store for season 6. We're changing it up a little bit. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Conversations with Verdel Jones. You can see past episodes and you can see all the new shows as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, Conversations with Verdel Jones, I have the pleasure of introducing some awesome men. They have a show. Let me get that information for you. They have a show called The Perspectives of Black Men. We have Coach Devine Smith, Dr. Kellen Scantlebury, and Dr. Aaron Johnson. And I cannot tell you how happy I am to have them here today. So we're going to get started because we have a lot of information to cover, and let's just bring them on in. Okay, welcome everybody to Conversations with Verdel Jones.
Hello. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am so happy to have you here. We were talking offline about the need for this particular show. And we're going to be talking all about that. But before we get started, I want people to know who you are and a little bit of background about you and what you do. And then we're going to talk about how you got together and then the, challenges of starting your own show and also the rewards of it as well. So we're going to start with Dr. Kellen, or Dr. Kellen Scantlebury. He is a doctor of physical therapy. And I just, you have a company called Fit Club. And so tell people a little bit about what that is about.
So welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Kellen Scantlebury. I am the owner and CEO of Fit Club Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. It is an outpatient orthopedic clinic that specializes in working with the active population here in New York City. The company was founded in 2017, and we've been helping New Yorkers since in Chelsea as well as Williamsburg. Now more than ever, it's very important that people really look into their health, because there's few things in life that we take for granted, and health is typically one of them. During the pandemic, a lot of our patients, clients have really taken that look inside and realized how important their health is to them. As they see, others around them suffering from, different illnesses. And right now, the biggest thing with COVID is what are the other issues that you might have, whether that's diabetes or heart disease. So really taking a look inside and taking the steps to become healthy is huge and important. And that's something that I really pride myself in doing. And that's what we do here at Fit Club Physical Therapy.
We also have Coach Devine, and he is going to, Coach Smith, he's going to be, he also is a business owner. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what your company does.
So I'm the owner operator of Diverse Skill Training. Because I'm a coach and I coach college basketball for about 15 years. I was actually Kellen's coach at CW Post. He was my first recruit.
Okay.
I work in finance and insurance. And one of the things that we preach in finance and insurance is holistic planning. So the reason for Diverse Skill Training is because although we do basketball training and basketball coaching, we're actually more community-based organization where we do education in anything that is vital and important in our community. I realize that it takes a village to build an individual's self-esteem or community's self-esteem and progress. So we try to provide as much information in our communities as possible through our organization.
And last but not least, we have Dr. Aaron Johnson. So, Coach Smith mentioned, community and engagement and how he works to and you all are about uplifting individuals and our community, and that's something definitely that we need to get the message out, and that's why I'm so happy that you all are here. But if Dr. Johnson, please just tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an educator and you're also a business owner as well.
Right. I think our generation was weird about it. My name is Dr. Aaron Johnson, and I have been an educator for about 15 years. And when I was pursuing my doctorate of education, my wife kind of inspired me. Really, one of the most inspirational people in my life at this moment. She was kind of like letting me know, like, Aaron, you do a lot of this stuff when you talk to organizations. You do a lot of things for free. Like, maybe you should start thinking about, thinking more business savvy about what you freely give unto people. So, like I said, I've been an educator. I've been teaching global history and African American studies for the last 15 years, and my dissertation and what my focus is really institutional equity. I've been interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion for a long time, even before I can really articulate what that meant. And when I was done with my studies, I was armed with all of this information and, just not a real way to get it out in a really significant way, right? In a really systemic way. So when I formed my business in December of 2019, that's really when I formulated it, went through the state and did everything necessary. That's when I figured I'm going to be trying to market and brand this idea that we need to be interested either on the in business or in the education system, and really bringing about equity. Right. And valuing diversity. And if we're not valuing diversity and inclusion, then we're perpetuating really institutional biases. So that's really what my business is about, just to speak truth to power about what cultural pluralism is, cultural proficiency, implicit bias training, systemic racism in education, as well as institutionally. That kind of training and consultation. That's really what the business is about. Help businesses grow and shift their culture towards equity is really what I'm about.
So you all have varied, interests, backgrounds, and you do a lot. So why did you decide to start a show called The Perspectives of Black Men? And, I've seen a few episodes, and you talk about all types of things from being unapologetically Black to working in corporate America, fatherhood. So you talk about it all. So why did you start this show?
So I'll say that we all have a different upbringing. We all have different backgrounds, but we all have a strong mind and a strong perspective. And I believe that you should never be the smartest person in the room. Everyone should be capable of articulating an expression that can make the room, bring more value to the room. So we started this because people, Black and brown people, need to be able to see that there are people from their own community that are making a difference and have a perspective that can help to push us to the next level and to create generational wealth in our communities. And that could be in an array of areas.
Right. And, that is so important, because one of the reasons I started to do conversations with Verdel Jones, and actually it kind of evolved in that, is I like to share information with individuals. And I know Dr. Johnson's an educator as well. So it's so important for me to have some people learn. And sometimes the information is not shared with everybody. So it's up to us to be that spokesperson or the person who brings that information to others so they could benefit as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's partly why we're doing the perspectives of Black men. This really came out of this time with COVID and the murder of George Floyd, and Devine and myself were like, we want to do something. And we spoke a little bit off air, and the power of technology, we were actually able to do this during COVID times, using Zoom, using Google Meets, using StreamYard, platforms like that. And we didn't have to wait. We could have said, you know what, we'll put this on the shelf, and when we can get together, we'll pick this back up. But we had a burning passion and a burning desire to share this message and share it now, because so many people don't know what excellence is and they haven't seen it. So if we can bring it to them via Zoom, via YouTube, via whatever platform, then it gives them something tangible that they can touch and they know it exists.
So how did you all meet? How did you decide? I mean, this is a powerhouse group. Anybody who wants to hear a perspective of strong Black men doing their thing, this is the place where you need to be. So how did you decide to join forces to bring this information to people?
I was on a Zoom with, well, first I've known Devine Smith for about 30 years. And so he was a fully grown adult when I met him,
I was waiting for that.
But I've known him for about 30 years, and he's always
so how old were you?
I was a child. I was about 8.
8 going on 45.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I've always been an old man in my brain. But I've known him for a long time, and what I've known about Devine, even throughout our lives, you have stages of growth. About maturity and where your focuses lie, and Devine was always a person to me. I've always seen that he was always interested in helping people, no matter whatever lane he was trying to help them in at the time. Whether he was coming to our basketball practices and teaching the young folks on their position, how to correctly be in their position, how to correctly execute in their position. He was always kind of just somebody who was trying to help out. And then as we got older, I became, more connected to what he was really about, like putting people, necessary people in the right spaces together, right? People who needed to meet, he wanted to make sure that they met. He wasn't getting anything out of it. He wasn't, there was no check. There was nothing coming on the back end for him, not anything, but he would still try to put people in the room that belong together in the same room. And I think that, over time, he would always call me, hey, Aaron, you think blah, 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 or do you want to be in this Zoom? And when COVID hit, I think he got really strategic. And I remember being on a Zoom with him and 60 other people talking about what's going on right now. Like the previous question when you were talking about, why this platform? Right. I think right now more than ever, Black people's narratives need to be listened to and really heard. The power of dismantling whiteness and white supremacy is really valuing the narratives of other people, especially people of color, more specifically Black people. We've always been made to listen to white narratives and perspectives to guide our lives. And that has gotten us, in the quagmire that we find ourselves in today. So I think him bringing me into that conversation, and I was able to meet Kellen, Dr. Scantlebury, and others in that Zoom, just as, young Black men relatively young Black men trying to connect and kind of grow. Right. Trying to grow and trying to be actionable. A lot of times I hear, especially in my professional setting, white folks are saying, I want to have the conversation. Well, we've been having the conversation for centuries. It's about time we act now. What are we going to do about it?
Right.
Beyond the conversation.
And that's the question. What media plays such a big role also in how we are perceived. Right. So I think it's our responsibility to take that back. And we often talk about there's no media that reflects us, and how come we don't have this? How come we don't have that? We do have that. You're a perfect example of, the perspectives of Black men, your show, but people also have to support it.
Right.
And the distribution of the information that we have or the content that we have becomes the struggle. And we have to be able to support one another in that. And, if you don't complain if you don't support.
Amen. And then also don't complain if you're not creating. Right. So we don't want to just stand on the sidelines. We want to be on the front lines, pushing, creating this content, giving people a voice, so that they know that they can stand with us, and we're on solid foundational grounds. And honestly, we're going to give as much education back to our community as possible.
Absolutely.
I think that is huge. The things that we pick up in each of our own lives, we want to make sure that we educate that and bring that back to our community, because that's the actionable step that we can take on a daily basis to move forward.
I heard Dr. Johnson talk about putting pieces in the right place. You heard Dr. Kells talking about the community, and I'm called Coach Smith for a reason. That's why I got this. That's why I got this streak right here in the middle of this gray streak or silver streak that Dr. Johnson would call in the middle of my head. I knew that they were great people and that they were morally sound, and no matter what we were going to do, we were going to have success because of the positive energy that we would create.
Right. So starting a show is not an easy task. A lot of people think, you just put a camera in front of yourself and you just start talking. You just go for it. What are some of the challenges that you have faced in bringing this content to people?
It's different. Oh, go ahead.
Go, Aaron, go.
I was just saying, it's just really, in this space right now that we find ourselves in is oversaturated. Like anything, once the internet became, once people started to monetize these platforms, it becomes very, very difficult to get an authentic voice across. So when people have a lot of resources to put behind growing a brand, a lot of folks tune into that brand because they become these folks who put money into it become a known quantity to them, a known entity, I should say, to them. And so for us, it becomes a little bit more difficult because we have so many other things going on. Like, this is not our only responsibility. We have children, we have, that are young, right? We have, we have our own careers. Some people who are out here either are very, very young and have limited responsibilities, or older and their responsibilities have also lessened over time because their children are older or things of that nature. So, and resources, it's hard. You're supporting a family in New York, especially Long Island. It's very, very difficult to then want to put those other dollars behind the platform that you're trying to grow. Meanwhile, you got $10,000 taxes, property taxes. Like that's the rough part of things where you have to figure out how to navigate, what's prioritized.
Loving this conversation. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to pick it up. Welcome back to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I am talking to the men of the show, the perspectives of Black men. We are having just a great conversation. Thank you so much for being on Conversations with Verdel Jones. We were talking a little bit about everyone having certain responsibilities. So you all are family men. You have businesses and 9-to-5s and all types of things. How do you balance that work-life type of situation?
I can speak only for myself. There hasn't been any balance in my life for a long time. When you're an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner, you succumb to that business. So this is something that I'm super passionate about. And Devine and Aaron and myself, we talk on a daily basis. And honestly, we just get it done, right? We jump on weekly Zooms. We have our weekly, YouTube channel and our podcast. But there's definitely challenges to it. But it's never something where it's like, this is hard or I'm going to quit. It's like, how do we accomplish this? And is today going to be perfect? Maybe not. But how do we make it better next time?
I would agree with that. I would say that how I'm able to balance what I'm doing in the community and what I'm doing at home is I treat it all the same. So my wife is also a basketball coach and she also played basketball. So if I'm going to a basketball tournament or if I'm going to a speaking engagement, my wife is all in. Like, she wants to be there with me. So, and my children, they tag along. That's all my children know. is basketball and the way that we're raising them to be, respectful young people in society. So I'm able to balance it by in being inclusive with what I do in the community and my family. And I think that what happens with us is because we are such high level individuals and we're accountable to ourselves and we don't point fingers at others, we can speak to each other and motivate and push one another to be the best versions of ourselves, and that's why it works.
Right.
And I think for me it's support. What's weird is I was going to say my wife's support, but right now I'm trying to support her. Like she's full on, master's classes that she's taken, and so certain times I'm going to be the one who's cooking dinner and doing other things that's going to take the load off, because it's not her responsibility to do. It's just something that, this household evolved where she did the majority of everything that like all women do. And so now that she's, really doing her thing in terms of her studies, I have to be there for her. So we try to balance each other out as much as possible. It is very, very difficult. However, I think once her schooling is done and once we have a little bit more understanding of this moment, this COVID moment, because our kids are fully remote, once we have a sense of normalcy back again, I think it'll be a little easier as well.
What are your individual roles to put your show together to make it successful?
Those of us whoever has the expertise for that particular topic will probably lead. We plan together. We try to make sure that there is an equitable, we have equitable airtime in terms of how much we speak about, so we'll come up with a list of questions that we're going to ask. Maybe they get answered. Maybe if I ask a question, it may get answered and their questions may get answered in the reply, or vice versa, how that goes. So we make sure that we are always prepared in terms of what we're going to be conversing about, and we kind of feed off of each other. You know what I mean? If the Devine asks a question and in the next question goes to Kellen, but something that the response spoke to me in a certain way, I'll say, let me just ask this right quick, this follow up. We'll do follow ups, and so we play off of each other. We try not to step on each other's toes. I know I'm obnoxious with the old man jokes with Devine, but other than that, we just try to do the best we can with filling, it's weird. It's never dead air. It's never confusion. We always have a direction, and there's always a different perspective. And that's really what it is. There are a lot of Black perspectives out here that just to get no burn, it gets no airtime. And we're just trying to show, how we can engage, whether we're talking about finance or we're talking about school or we're talking about voting or whatever. We're just trying to get people to understand that you are allowed to feel your feelings. Right. You're allowed to be who you are, and you're allowed to think differently and have a nuanced approach to where we're living and how we're living right now.
Right. And how do you come up with the topic of discussion for your shows?
So basically, we like to just cover trending topics from a Black lens, and obviously a lot of what's going on right now has to do with, being Black in America and what's happening with, unfortunately, police brutality in the case of, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. But then we also want to give game to our community. It's about investing, teaching about redlining and teaching about, different things that you don't get in school, the African-American history that you don't get in school. Dr. Johnson does an amazing job at just educating people on our history, the history of racism and how we got to this point, implicit biases. So when you talk about defining roles, I would say Dr. Johnson brings in that, implicit biases and that education about who we are as a people, as Black people. And he really comes full circle with that. I think Coach Smith really brings into account the community and touching base with the community, whether it's mentorship or sponsorship. And myself, I really just try to bring that young, fiery energy that no matter if you tell me like, don't go, I'm just going to go. Stop doing this. I'm just going to keep going. Right. Like that's what I bring in, just trying to keep us on track, because we oftentimes can be a little long winded, and, just making sure that our responses and our answers are succinct, and we're staying on track with what our topic is my goal.
I agree 100% with what both of the doctors have articulated. And I'll just say that I marvel at how mindful and articulate and educated Dr. Johnson and Dr. Scantlebury are. I sit there and I literally marvel at them every show. I look forward to every single Thursday where I get to hang out and conversate with these two brilliant men.
I appreciate that, and I want to just echo that. I think the relationship matters. If I hated Devine's guts or Kellen's guts, it would be evident in the way in which we talk to each other, and not even just hate it. Like if I didn't like if it was like we're cool. Like I like them. I really and it's what's weird. Devine knows me. I don't make new friends, and so I was like, if I haven't known you, if I didn't know you after 15, we probably not gonna be friends. Like that's just my own personal. That's my own personal issues I have with trust. But like because, and then I will say this again. I believe I said it once before. When you're dealing with people who have value, right? Like we always talk about bringing value to a conversation, and authentic, right? That to me that means a lot. When you get that. When you feel inside intrinsically that like you can feel it, it's not something that you just notice, but like I feel it that these people authentically care and they're authentically altruistic about what their purpose is and what their focuses are and who are, with our people and what we want to bring about. It makes you feel good. Like I like going, my wife is like, Aaron, you need an outlet. Because the stresses of our community, it really, I think about it all the time. This is what I teach too. Right. And then so, and I used to play ball and I don't play ball anymore. So now it's like the outlets that I used to have, I don't have as much. My wife is like, you really need an outlet. And she says, I could see when you go speak
out of the house.
right. She's like, when you go talk to them and when you go have your show, it looks as though that you like them and you like what you're doing. And it looks like you have that outlet again. And it relieves a little bit of stress from you. So I like them. It's, it's cool really hanging out and talking to them.
And as Black people, we all need that outlet, right? We need that safe space to be able to share what's going on. Sometimes you don't want to go to work the next day after something terrible has happened and been seen on the news. And that's part of why we're doing the show as well, to be that outlet so that people can watch and understand. And you might not necessarily agree with our perspective. And that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for everyone to be in unison, but we're looking to share it in a respectful way, in a respectful manner, and grow from it. The biggest thing is not just talk, but let there be actions that come out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. Well, like I said, this conversation has been really, I was excited to have you all on to share about the Black man perspective. The Perspectives of Black Men show. And I want everyone to know where they can actually see the show so they can check you out and check out your conversations that you have. You also bring on guests as well. So how can people, reach out and see your show?
So you can subscribe to the YouTube page, The Perspectives of Black Men. We also have a Facebook page as well, The Perspectives of Black Men. For anyone interested in any donations or just wanting to be a part of the show in any way, you can send us an email at perspectivesofblackmen@gmail.com.
Awesome. And you can also reach out to these men. They have shared with you, they are business owners and they are doing it. And we need to support our brothers, just making it happen. And I just want to say that I'm very, very proud of you. And I really do appreciate the work that you do. You are so accomplished, but not only the accomplishment, it's genuine. And, it shows that you really want to, reach people and reach the community community and share, share your experiences and your perspectives. So I thank you for that.
We
Thank you for having us on your show as a guest. I really truly believe in what you're doing. I support the Verdel Jones show. Like we need more people like the four of us here to either pay attention to the things we're doing or actually get out there on the front lines themselves, because that's the only way that we're going to enact change.
So I want to thank everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more of Conversations with Verdel Jones.